Staff is helping those in the town office get situated with Zoom, as there's been some difficulty with the connection. So unfortunately, we have a delay, but we hope to start as soon as staff has the mayor and I believe Mr. Sweeney situated. So that's where we are at the moment.
All right, Mr. President, we're good to go.
Okay, well, very good. So staff elected, we're going to move forward unless I hear otherwise. I believe we're all clear to go. Okay, so let's begin. The time now is 7:41. Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, May 3rd, 2021 Town of Emmitsburg Town Meeting. I will ask you to please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have future meetings. The first future meeting to mention is the Parks and Recreation Committee, which will occur on Tuesday, May 18th at 7:30 p.m. That's to occur in the Main Street office at 22 East Main Street. The next town council meeting regarding the fiscal year 2022 budget will occur on Monday, May 17th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. That will be available, we hope, via Channel 99 and Zoom. The Planning Commission meeting will occur on Monday, May 24th at 2021. That will occur via Zoom. The Town Council meeting following will occur on June 7th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. via Channel 99 and Zoom. And the Town Council will meet again after that in June on June 21st at 7:30 p.m. again via Channel 99 and Zoom. So we move forward now to our meeting items. My hope is everyone's had the opportunity to look at and review the April 5th meeting minutes. Are there any changes or enhancements that anyone wants to see?
Mr. President.
Mr. Ritz, yes, sir.
Hi, and I want to apologize to everybody ahead of time if I cut out. I don't know, my Wi-Fi seems to be acting strange. I totally missed the Pledge of Allegiance. Like you guys, I lost connection totally there. Okay, so on page 4 of our agenda packet, under public comments, I feel that the public comments from Miss Brittany Fritz were spot on. However, I was hoping that the minutes would also show my concern of any resident actively discouraging any business interest in 502 East Main Street, as discussed in that meeting.
Okay, so Mr. Ritz, what language would you like to see there for a modification?
Pretty much just what I said, something along those lines, that unless everyone here feels otherwise, that I contributed to Ms. Fritz's comment, in that I was concerned of a resident basically going out of their way, discouraging any future business at that property.
Okay.
If my fellow commissioners don't agree with that, I'm totally fine with that as well.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the minutes as modified by Commissioner Ritz?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as modified by Commissioner Ritz.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Motion's been made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion of this item? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Great. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. We now turn to the second meeting minutes from April 19th. Are there any concerns or modifications that any commissioner would like to see at this time?
It's me again.
Okay,
I do have a concern, and I'm happy to see that Miss Powell is in attendance tonight, so she can quickly answer this for us, probably. After the meeting, I became concerned in the sense that our agenda item was listed as a discussion item, and we did vote that night. Historically, if we vote on an item, it's listed as for discussion, or sorry, for consideration. And we typically don't vote on for discussion items. So just want to make sure, so I can rest assured, there's no violation of any Open Meetings Act due to that.
Leslie here, as long as the discussion occurred in public, and it did based on this, there is no violation of the Open Meetings Act. And so I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the specific agenda item you're talking about. Can you tell me what?
Sorry, I was muted. Let's see, it's on.
Which
Okay.
page are you on?
Why did that? I closed my agenda. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Wrong button.
It's easy to do.
It was regarding the fee in lieu of.
No, not the fee in lieu of. This was the,
Where are we?
we're at the April 19th meeting, correct?
yes, we're considering that.
So it's basically
The minutes.
just starting on page 8, Leslie.
Page 8, okay.
Yeah, it's, our one agenda item for that night. I mean, I have no problems the way things went. It's just, I'm just making sure, because I know historically, we always list something as for consideration, or something as for discussion. We typically don't vote that night unless it's marked as for consideration.
Yeah, well, I guess, so it sounds like maybe people got a little bit carried away. What was the topic? I'm on page 8, but I'm trying to find the agenda
It
item.
was in relation to the pumping station for the East Industrial
For
Park.
Emmitsburg East, yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
I think this is fine. I mean, basically, he came to the town with this request. For discussion, the location of the pump station and the discussion of additional requirements of such pump. We didn't get into any additional requirements there because if you'll remember, those were not articulated by Mr. Dean. It was sort of a kind of a soft pitch, if you will. And they had only asked about the pump station on the treatment plant property, the electricity, and the operation and maintenance of the pump. So I think that that is fine. Because
Okay.
that we did have a discussion of the additional requirements, but I do not believe that this is an issue, and it's certainly not a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Terrific. Okay, are there any other comments or concerns related to the minutes from the April 19th town meeting? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries
Aye.
5. Sorry, my apologies. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we now turn to, trying to get our sequence together, pardon me. Police report for this evening. We have a deputy on hand available.
Yes, I'm right here.
Oh, very good. All right. Good evening, sir. Thank you for being here.
Evening. How was everybody? The White House, Frederick County Sheriff's Office. This is the April. Sorry, this is the April town report. Kind of a slow month. which I guess is good for police standards anyway. So I'll just jump right to the back page. Oh, well, we had, 15 traffic stops. We did a lot of walking this month out on the town, back alleys and whatnot. So we had a couple destructions of property at the St. Joseph's Parish Hall on DePaul Street. Looks like there was about 50 BBs shot into one of the side windows. There was some BBs there located on the scene. So anyone with any information, we don't really have any suspects or anything at this point. So we're kind of asking for anybody who has any information. If they know of anybody in the area of DePaul Street. Started the little development behind to the rear of that, north of that part. Anybody has any BB guns in that area, to contact me or contact deputies or email. If you don't have that, it's Emmitsburg deputies at emmitsburgmd.gov. So what else here? There was a theft, couple thefts. So we had the light pole on Timber Mill Run that's kind of AWOL. No one knows where this light pole is. I knocked on several doors out there, tried to find any kind of video, but this light pole is gone. No idea where it went. The only thing that kind of remains now was an orange cone that somebody put there, and nobody even knows where this orange cone is at this point, or who put that there either. So, and speaking of orange cones, I guess Ms. Wetzel there on West Main Street, some of the college kids across from her keep taking her orange cones for some reason. I'm not sure why. So no one's ever there. Every time we knock, we can't find anybody. So we're trying to work on having somebody hopefully be there at some point so we can talk to them and find out where their cones are and ask them why they're taking these orange cones. So that's it for me. Any questions for me?
No questions are coming forward, Deputy. Thank you very much for your report.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. You too. Be safe.
Yeah.
We now turn to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to handle the town manager's report as Kathy's a little under the weather today. For streets, staff replaced and repaired street signs around the town. Staff conducted monthly street sweeping. They repaired and replaced street lights. They took down some Christmas decorations, cold patch potholes. A contractor completed the new sidewalk on West Lincoln Avenue. Staff seal coated cracks on Ramblewood Court. Contractor blacktopped 5 water leak patches, and staff conducted the monthly storm drain inlet cleaning for our MS4 program. Under parks, they conducted the daily park checks, conducted monthly park maintenance, sanitized playground equipment twice a week. A contractor installed combination locks on all storage room dugout doors in Memorial Park. They cleaned and opened the park restroom buildings and concession stands for the season. Staff removed old wooden bleachers at Ballfield 7 in Memorial Park. The new bleachers were purchased from a POS grant. And staff dug out and installed new community garden plots with a POS grant funds. Underwater, Rainbow Lake is at spillway level 16.6 feet. The filters are being backwashed 3 times a day, and the DE filters are being done once every other week. Well levels, optimal level was determined to be May 2011. Wells 1 and 2 have low usage this month as the damage has been reduced from the leak repairs last month. Well 1 has a positive 3 feet. Well 2 is 0, equal. Well 3 is NA, it's been off in March. Well 4 is negative 18 feet. And well 5 is off as well, so that's NA. Water productions and consumption, we produced an average of 209,561 gallons per day, and we consumed 195,162 gallons per day. The difference is the backwash water of 8.8%. We purchased 446,350 gallons of water from Mount St. Mary's this month. Under wastewater, we treated an average of 677,000 gallons per day. We consumed 195,000, which means that 71.1% of the wastewater treated this month was wild water. We had no spills of untreated sewage in the month of March. However, we did exceed the plant's design capacity 2 times. We received 2.6 inches of participation this month. Average was 4.05 inches. We have a surplus of 4.15 inches over the last 6 months. Trash will be picked up. Will remain Mondays in the month of May, except for Memorial Day. Trash will be collected on Tuesday, June 1st instead. There's a list of meetings that she attended and also some noteworthy items.
Very good. Thank you, sir. As the town manager is not here at this time, maybe if there is an interest, please contact her directly if you would. We hope she feels better soon.
President?
Yes, Mr. Ritz.
Actually, I do have a question. I believe that Mr. Golden can actually answer this for me. This was going to be directed to Ms. Willits. And if he can't, that's fine. Then we'll just do it. I was just curious.
Go for it.
Under the noteworthy item in the manager's report, Zach, the very first item regarding 8533 Hampton Valley Road. Do you know, obviously that's within the town watershed area. So do we own that property, and what exactly do we do with it?
So we do own that property. It is my understanding that it's then taken to our wastewater treatment plant.
No, not the pumping, obviously, the contents of the pumping, but the building itself. What do we rent that out? What is that?
It's a residential property.
Okay, so they rent from the town.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Pressing forward.
I have one question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sweeney, go for it.
I just wanted to know, you said about the old bleachers taken out. Is the new ones coming in for the park?
Yeah, they came in. They're going to be installed, I believe, in the next week or 2.
Okay, because I had a lot of Little League parents asked about the concessions, for sitting.
Yeah, they came in. They were delivered last week, and the public works staff need to put them together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? None? Okay. So we now turn to the parking enforcement report.
Sure. I can handle that as well.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. So this is for March of 2021. There was 48 overtime parkings, 4 restricted parking zone tickets, 1 left side parking. Meter money totaled $905.48. Parking permits $175. Parking ticket money was $440 for a total of $15, $20, and 48 cents.
Thank you, sir. We now turn to your report, the town planner's report.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Sure. We now turn to your report, the town planner's report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is for March 2021. Under commissioners, I updated proposed ordinance 21-05. I also created policy 2102 and 2103, which will be brought forth at a later date. Created resolutions 21-01, which is a comprehensive plan amendment to chapter 3. Still going through the process with the state of Maryland and the county right now. Under grants, fiscal year 20 facade and restoration community legacy, I submitted a reimbursement request and also the quarterly report. For fiscal year 21, I worked with Maryland Historical Trust and property owners to gain approval on the projects. I also processed approvals. Chesapeake Bay Trust Management for the Green Street and the Rain Barrel program. If you'd like a rain barrel, they're available at the town office for $40. Community Development Block Grant, as the mayor announced at the last meeting, we were awarded a $685,893 Community Development Block Grant to replace sidewalk curb ramps throughout the town. Created and mailed environmental assessment letters for that, and also notice to public intent to request release of funds in the required advertisement and associated letters. We processed 1 COVID-19 micro grant, created a press release. We also received a $3,000 grant from Keep Maryland Beautiful to purchase more trash bins throughout our parks. Under MS4, we continue to work on the Silent Hill Stormwater Management Basin retrofit and tree planting project management. We updated our SOP plan in order to add the Insurance Brokers of Maryland, and I also reviewed the 2020-21 MDE MS4 permit progress report, and that was satisfactory. Under permits and zoning, processed 8 zoning permit applications. As you can see, there's 2 new homes in Brookfield. To date, we have 6 from January 1 of this year. We have 16 new homes in Brookfield permitted and 1 in Southgate. I processed 6 backflow preventer applications. Reminder to residents, please continue to get your backflow preventers installed. Contact me with any questions. I assisted the town clerk with permitting on the mini picnic pavilion and the bandstand project, and we responded to various incident reports. For Planning Commission, as you can see, there's a bunch of projects still outstanding: Rutter's, Insurance Brokers of Maryland, Miss B Child Care, Irishtown Road improvements, townwide ADA ramps, Federal Stone, and Emmitsburg East Industrial Park 2. We continue to answer questions from potential developers at Emmit Ridge 2, Fraley Farm, and McNair properties. I answered questions from also developers at 502 East Main Street. We had a Planning Commission training on the 3rd. Let's see, reviewed various projects for approval by the mayor and Planning Commission chair, and I also attended a Planning Commission meeting on the 29th. Miscellaneous forestry stand management for 6 and 10. 7 is an error there. It's only 6 and 10. Prepared fiscal year 22 budget for the planning department. Processed a few bids and updated Planning Commission and Board of Appeal membership at the Maryland Department of Planning, and that's pretty much summarizes the month. It was a busy month.
Any question for the planner related to the planner's report?
Nope.
Mr. Ritz, go ahead. No? No. Okay. Sorry, I thought you were asking something. Curiously, Mr. Golden, the car, how much did the car take?
What was it, $1,200? It was a $1,200 or right around $1,200. So
Very good.
we got
Okay.
pretty lucky there.
The silver bullet goes. Okay, thank you. We now turn to commissioner comments. And with that, we'll start with Commissioner Ritz.
Yes, thank you. All I have to say tonight is, we have a lot of great dining establishments here in town. The Carriage House, for example, they did a fantastic job of carry out for my wife's birthday. It was either me cook or them, and they do a better job. I also have a personal weakness for Ott's Wings and the Palms Meatloaf. But I really miss Stavros Pizza, so I hope that business can reopen soon under new management. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. We turn to Mr. Sweeney.
I have nothing at this time.
Thank you, sir. We turn to Commissioner Burns.
Yes, good evening. Relatively slow month. I was actually contacted by a couple citizens in town, helped them with some water issues, not related to groundwater, thank God, and spoke with the HOA president in Northgate to discuss some things involving the future of Emmit Ridge 2. The only thing I would like to put out there for everyone is I know coming up in the future, we're going to have a lot of discussions about the comprehensive plan and things moving forward into the development of the town. And I hope everyone that's listening tonight or people that are listening tonight can discuss with their friends to do some research and learn about what is going on in town, whether it be for the new developments that are in process of talks to go in, whether it be the future of the bypass around Emmitsburg or things of that nature. I would love to have informed people with great questions and bring those forth to the commissioners as well as the town staff, so that we know that we're getting the best information from our citizens, so that they are well aware of what's going on as we continue to grow here in Emmitsburg for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, just to piggyback on Commissioner Burns there a little bit. We have a lot of citizens out there with a lot of expertise, and I encourage them to offer their comments and their help in certain situations that we have. We were able to solve a problem in the parks earlier in the week, but with a very simple solution with somebody with some good background information, and it made our life a lot easier. So we really need the community to be involved in what we're doing. And just real quickly, a lot of you probably know Rich Boyd, who is the manager of Jubilee Foods. He'll be retiring, I believe, this week. Rich has been part of the Emmitsburg community for probably 35 years or so. And I'd just like to thank him for everything that the business has done for us as a community. That's it.
Absolutely. He's hired me twice. I worked at Jubilee, well, Super Thrift back in the day. So
I'd have probably fired you twice.
yeah, I'm sure you would have.
Tough room. Tough room. All right. Good evening. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, staff. Thank you, everybody. Quick comments. The most common questions that I'm running into from folks through either like conversations on the occasional email is about the annexation process. I know the town has prepared a document that shows the process, a written document that's now very visible on the website. I also know that staff is creating a visual presentation that I believe is going to be posted on the website also. The question I think folks are pushing on is, where can they participate in the process? You know, whether they're in favor of it or not, that's not the issue, but where can they step in? And the one piece that I always try to say is, talk to your commissioners and talk to the mayor, get a hold of them and let us know your perspective and your opinion. And my hope is the flow chart will show very clearly where people have an opportunity to voice their opinion in a formal setting, such as a meeting. Beyond that, there was an impromptu trail day this past weekend, assessing trails. There's work to be done to get things ready for the summer. My hope is to have approval at our next meeting for one more trail day before the end of the month. And beyond that, and simply put, before we all get in trouble, the commission and the mayor wish everyone a happy Mother's Day as it's coming up. And with that, I turn things over to the mayor. Mr. Briggs?
Okay. I think we're ready to go. Got a little echo in here. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Just a couple of highlights. Good evening to everybody. And thank you for being with us tonight. Shows our durability and persistence. On April 21st, at 10 a.m., there was a green team meeting. We have a wonderful staff participation on that and community development. The following day, we had a Sustainable Maryland Smart Energy Communities Program webinar. I attended. Sustainable Maryland electric vehicles and charging stations. I attended that. We had a fourth graders at Mother Seton School for Bannertown. I made a presentation last week. Thank you to Terry Ray for assisting me on that. And on April 29th, I am the MML committee rep for the Department of Commerce Committee, Maryland State Comparative Energy Siting, and I attended that meeting. Those are the main meetings. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. At this point, we turn to public comments in general. These do not specifically necessarily have to relate to the agenda items. Do we have anyone signed up at this time for public comment in this context?
We have Sabrina Paxton Daly.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Hi, gentlemen. I'd actually signed up to discuss the agenda item about the approval of the in-lieu payment for the park situation. Is that still being discussed tonight?
That will not be discussed tonight.
Okay. Well, I really feel what I have to say is more germane to that topic, and perhaps I should just wait until that's part of the agenda.
Mr. President?
Mr. Ritz, yes.
Isn't that agenda item number 1?
It is, but when I get to agenda item 1, I can explain in more detail what's going on with that one. But Ms. Paxton Daly, number 1, thank you for your email earlier this week and for your follow-up, and thank you for being here tonight. I'm sorry that we're not addressing it tonight, but we will be addressing it at a future meeting for certain. So I'll advise. I know you're watching on your own also, but I will definitely send you an email in advance so you know when that's going to happen.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Golden, do we have any others signed up for public comment at this time?
No others are signed up at this time.
Terrific. Okay, thank you. Turning to administrative business, we have no items for this meeting, so we turn further to our consent agenda, and we advise that we don't have anything for our consent agenda. So now we turn to Commissioner Burns for the treasurer's report.
Thank you. This is the Treasury report for May 3rd. This is the cash activity as of April 29th, 2021. We have a cash balance of $5,492,578. We had deposits in the amount of $362,422. We had withdrawals in the amount of $305,394, which leaves us with an operating balance forward of $5,549,606. The top 10 check amounts are listed below. If I can't answer your question, then hopefully one of the staff can. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
the mayor would like to say one thing.
Yes.
We have another gentleman here for public comment. He was going to try to get here, and he's zooming in, Steve Trout.
Very good.
He's
Okay.
here. I don't know if this is the appropriate time for him to see, but he,
Mr. Trout, if you would like, you're welcome to provide public comment, or wait till if it's a specific agenda item, but you're muted at the moment.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
We can hear you, sir. It looks like our connection froze there.
Steve, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Your visual.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes. Your visual froze for a moment, but we can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, I'm in a rainstorm out here. I'm way out in the country. But I thought I was going to be on the agenda tonight for the public works agreement with the Rutter's engineer, Tim Bieber. That wouldn't be part of public comment, would it?
Yes. So if you want to wait till we take on that item, we'd be happy to hear from you at that time.
Let's do that. That would make more sense when you guys go over it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're moving on to
Mr. President, I had a question regarding the treasurer's report.
yes, sir. Go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Ritz.
And of course, Miss Willits isn't here, so I don't know if anyone in town staff can address this, but I'm just curious as to how does a $6,474 overpayment on a water bill occur? And what
I can take care of that for you, Commissioner Ritz. I can take care of that for you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So what happened was one of our residents had set up an automatic payment through her bank account, and I believe mistyped a number, and therefore it showed up. I think missed a comma and or period, and was unaware of the bank draft. At that point, she was able to show her water bill as well as the bank draft, and what should have been the right amount of paid, and therefore we were able to reimburse her for the total amount, and she paid the proper amount for her water bill at the time.
Okay, good. I was hoping it wasn't some sort of water leak or something.
No, it wasn't a water leak. I know a lot of the banks now, we go through each month and you can pre-enter your bills, and then they will come out, and I believe it was just a typographical error on she was luckily able to when it reflected in her balance, she immediately came to the tent. The staff was able for her.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for adding clarity, Mr. Burns. Thank you, Mr. Ritz. I apologize for jumping the gun on that one. We now turn to item K, Planning Commission report to be presented at the meeting.
Yeah, hopefully everybody can still hear me. I could piece together what Commissioner Burns was saying regarding that overpayment. It was kind of choppy. I don't know what's going on here. So anyway, the Planning Commission did meet on the 26th of April and conditionally approved the Irishtown Road corrected improvement plat in relation to the completion of the Brookfield development. I'm not going to list those conditions now unless everybody wanted to know some. I mean, there are multiple. So I'll just leave it at that. It was conditionally approved. There was no public comment per se. However, there was one Brookfield resident who expressed concern prior to the meeting regarding new LED lighting for this project, that there would be a significant glare. It was acknowledged in the meeting that LED lighting does save the town on energy expenses. Sometimes they can be quite bright though. However, the lighting plan per the corrected plat remains in effect. It was also discussed that if enough complaints are received from Brookfield residents regarding the brightness of these LED lights, they can most likely be adjusted as they are in other municipalities, such as Frederick. Of course, lighting is of great value in the sense that it provides safety and convenience. And that's all I have.
Thanks, sir. Are there any questions for the commissioner regarding the report? Okay. Hearing none, we now turn to agenda item 1. And Mr. Ritz, you'd asked, for clarification here. As provided to me by staff, okay, the request has come forward that we're going to act on, that staff, the mayor, the town's attorney, and the potential purchaser are intending to meet to discuss this issue further, and therefore the sentiment was they would like to hold on this item and bring it back at another meeting. So we will honor that request, and that's why we're moving forward to agenda item number 2. But Mr. Ritz, I hope that adds clarity for you, sir.
Well, it does for me. That makes total sense. It's just I'm hoping that there aren't other individuals on the call who might be frustrated that they sat through all what they did and now they're not that they'll come back at a later date. So that was my main concern. But obviously, getting all the I's dotted and T's crossed for this agenda item makes total sense. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your understanding. We now move to agenda item number 2. And the title of our item is Initial Presentation of the Fiscal Year 2022 Budget. This will be coming forward from the mayor and staff.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Donald. I appreciate that. Before I begin, I forgot to say we won 2 awards, Arbor Day Foundation 2020 Tree City USA again, and also the 2020 Green Award for the town from Plant, people loving to plant trees. And so they keep rolling in, and I can't wait till we get to where we're going to plant 25 acres of trees. That's going to be a sensational thing. Thank you for the wait. Every day, earlier today, each commissioner and myself was delivered a copy of the budget. This is not a question night. That'll be in 2 weeks from now. But I just want to go over the highlights of the budget, and I'm going to round off figures at certain times to make it a little easier to keep things moving there. With revenues, tax rate for real estate taxes is to remain at current rate of 36 cents per $100 assessed, so there's no change there. That's good news. State highway funds will be $126,000. Overall, FY22 budget funding will be $10,000 higher than FY21. Notice received concerning county tax equity funding. FY22 budget amount is $426,000, lower by $8,300 from fiscal 21. Town budgeted service charge revenues are slightly higher this FY, up $1,300, going from 231,000 to 232,000 and change. Budgeted general funds revenue is estimated to increase by $37,000 or 2% over last FY, going from $1,870,000 to $1,907,000. Although this is true when you look at FY budgeted general funds revenues as compared to audited FY20 general funds revenue, you see a decrease of $118,000, not counting the sale of 140 South Seaton property that we own. Audited FY20 general fund revenues were $2 million compared to the budgeted FY general fund revenues of $1,900,000. Water revenues are budgeted slightly lower this year at $562,000. Last year, FY21 budget was $568,000. I'm sorry, not last year. That's this year coming up. An area budgeted lower is utility charges, going from $450,000 down to $400,000. An area budget higher is tap fees. 10 homes paying tap fees have been budgeted for FY22. And that would be out at Brookville. Sewer revenues are budgeted lower this year, $1 million. Last year, FY21, they were $1,079,000. Again, an area budget lower in utility charges, going from $925,000 to $850,000. But for both sewer and water, gallons have been metered by larger historical users due to lower staffing due to the COVID restrictions. As with water, an area budget higher this year are tap fees. Human resources, town management recommends that staff not eligible for FY21 approved mid-year budget increases, salary increases, be given a 3% adjustment for FY22. In years past, employees have normally gotten a step increase along with the cost of living adjustment, COLA. Expenses. Budgeted general fund expenses will, before capital transfer, is increased by $43,000 or 2.5%. Total budgeted general costs went from $1,713,000 to $1,756,000 before capital fund transfers. Areas of increase are seen in planning, financial, buildings, streets, refuge, and park departments. Capital fund transfers for FY22 will be $150,000, down from $156,000. Budgeted water fund expenses increased by $74,000 or 11.6%. Total budgeted water fund costs went from $637,000 to $711,000. Budgeted sewer fund expenses increased $40,000 or 5%. Total budgeted sewer fund costs went from $812,000 to $853,000. I went through those quickly. Those are just some of the highlights. We'll have a special meeting of the commissioners. They're giving their booklets, the final budget, proposed budget, and we'll be meeting in 2 weeks to discuss that. Okay.
Mr. Tabler, yes, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just to add to what the mayor has went over this evening, I want to thank Commissioner Davis for delivering the different budgets to the different commissioners today. I appreciate his help with that. Also, as you take a look at the budgets between now and the next meeting on the 17th, if you have any specific questions on any of the numbers that you see or look at, please get a hold of town staff so we can be prepared on that meeting date so we can address those issues. And if you would, take a close look at everything. And if you have any questions, please bring them to our attention. And we look forward to presenting the budget to everybody.
Thank you, sir. So again, for absolute clarification, the board just received the budget today. This is the first we've seen it. Our next town meeting will be more or less dedicated to this on the 17th of this month. That's Monday, May 17th. At that time, we'll kind of dig in on what's being presented. As Mr. Tabler suggested, it's important that if we have any heady questions, it would be advisable to give him, to share those questions with him so he's capable of responding in an appropriate way at that time. And if there's any clarification that's sought, hopefully you can ask prior to the meeting and also ask in the meeting. Those are both perfectly fine. Beyond that, typically, Mr. Tabler, clarification, the budget process has to be concluded by June. What date? I don't recall. I don't want to get this wrong. I'm sorry.
I believe by ordinance, it needs to be done by the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
We'll have what typically we do is we'll do the presentation at that mid-May meeting. And then on the first meeting in June, we would typically vote on that proposed budget. And then that would give us time in case there's any additional issues to address.
Terrific. Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that clarification. Okay. So we now move on from agenda item 2 now to agenda item 3. And I want to clarify process here. Agenda item 3, approval of Rutter's Public Works Agreement and authorize mayor to sign agreement on behalf of town for consideration. Presentation by staff, presentation meeting by staff. Mr. Trout, I believe this is your agenda item. You'll hear the presentation, and then if you have any questions after the presentation has concluded, I'll ask you to address that to myself and I'll carry that to staff. So of course they'll hear it by Zoom, but that's just what our process is. So now I turn this to staff.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. All right, so the Sewer Public Works Agreement, or PWA, outlines the developers, it's M&G Realty Inc. and SPT Land LLC responsibilities before the town will accept dedication of the sewage pump station and associated sewer infrastructure. The Public Works Agreement has been reviewed by the town's attorney and also the 2 developers' attorney for legal sufficiency. And that's our brief presentation.
Okay, is there any other comment from the attorney or from the mayor, or is that the full presentation?
Yes, that's the full presentation, unless Leslie, you want to add some more.
Now, Clay Martz and Clay is Mr. Trout's lawyer. We met and talked about the provisions to make clear whose obligations were whose. M&G Realty will be the entity that's posting the letter of credit. And the way this is going to work is that Rutters is going to be in charge basically of getting all the information together for the pump station and proceeding with the contracting. And then there is an agreement between Rutters and SPT Land, which is Mr. Trout's company, because they will be oversizing the system to accommodate future development. And so, but that agreement is between the 2 of them, and we're not going to get in the middle of that. And, but as I mentioned, Mr. Martz and I spent some quality time together last week to iron this out. So, you know, other than, you know, maybe just a minor clarification, the agreement that you have before you is the agreement that's being proposed. But of course, the details will be filled in. And so what we're looking for is the authority for Mr. Mayor to execute the agreement on behalf of the town. Is that fair?
Thank you for the clarification. That's perfect. So, Mr. Trout, we now turn to you for your comment. And I'll ask you if you could identify yourself and give us your address, and then the floor is yours once you unmute.
Can you hear me?
Now we can,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, I'm Mr. Trout with SBT Land Group. And, you know, I was a little wild about this because he had me in as developer, but after some consultation, I feel a little better now. And with Leslie explaining that just now, it helps me out. The only question I really have is a couple small things. Number 7 on page 3, it says, it is understood and agreed that the developer may wish to install systems. I think that needs to be changed, that the developer will install systems in excess of those required to serve the Rutter project to be located on a parcel 2 of the property. Do you see that, Leslie?
Yeah, I'm going to the PWA. So you'd like to change that to the.
Well, would that make more sense?
Well, I guess as long as nothing changes between now and when this goes down. And so when we have the may wish to, that would include doing it. Because
okay, well, I mean, if it's not going to put me in a bad spot, I'm not going to worry with it.
No, I don't believe it does, because once again, your agreement with Rutters is something that you and Clay will iron out with Rutters and their counsel. I guess I can't remember the guy in-house, but Clay has a good working relationship with him. And so, you know,
I think it's Tyler Esselman or Esselman, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm not positive sitting here right now. But he will.
I'll say I am Tyler Eshelman. I'm the attorney for Rutter.
Well,
thanks, Tyler. Good to see you, Tyler.
Sorry.
Thanks for stepping in, Tyler.
Yeah, I'll even go on video here for you.
Oh, you're looking good, Tyler. You're looking good.
So, hold on for a moment. So, Mr. Trout, we're going to stick with you for a moment.
Okay.
And Mr. Eshelman, we will come to you regarding Rutter's comments, but let's hear Mr. Trout through first, and then we'll turn our attention to yourself.
Thank you. Next question. Number 10, about this change orders.
Yep.
You know, we want you to explain that to me, 10A.
What, you mean the concept? Hang on a minute.
Yeah, explain that to me, Leslie, in layman's terms.
Sure. So, basically what this relates to is in construction projects, there are frequently things that happen in the field, and that can either have an impact on the price or the process. And so what happens is that a change order is going to be presented by whomever the contractor is that Rutter hires to do this work, but the town gets to say yes or no to whether or not the change is appropriate, because we're expecting to get a certain, you know, system that has certain capabilities, and certainly it's in yours and Rutter's best interest that it do the job. But we want to make sure that whatever we're inheriting, because it will be provided to the town, so that whatever we're inheriting is something that's going to work. I mean, we don't want something built with, you know, something that's going to rust, for example.
Right.
And so that's why the town retains the ability to approve change orders, particularly if it comes down to altering specs on the construction.
Okay. Okay. Other than that, I think I'm pretty good.
Great.
Okay, Leslie, yeah, I had a long talk with a couple of people.
Okay.
Appreciate your time, and I'll turn the mic over. Who else wants to be involved?
All right.
Perfect. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Mr. Eshelman, I'll turn to you for a moment, as your name was brought up in the meeting. I'll ask that you identify yourself and you give us your address and who you're representing. And if you have comments that relate to what was discussed, please feel free to share at this time.
Thank you. My name is Tyler Eshelman. That's Eshelman. I serve as Associate General Counsel for the Rutters Companies with an address at 2295 Susquehanna Trail, Suite C, York, PA, zip code 17404.
Thank you, sir.
And as just a clarifying note, M&G Realty is the party to the PWA and will serve as the owner of the parcel that will eventually feature the new Rutters store. So when we say Rutters, I guess we're really referring to M&G Realty tonight, but that's just to clarify for everyone here who I think by this point is probably aware of that. I don't have any further comments. It sounds like we're on a good understanding of what the PWA says and how it operates, but I believe we have our engineer on as well, Tim Bieber, who you've heard from before, and he just had a question about how the financial security worked. Tim, do you mind stepping in and just asking about that?
Okay, so
Sure.
Mr. Bieber, I'm going to ask you the same thing. If you could identify yourself, who you're representing, and your address, please, for our record.
Tim Bieber, representing M&G Realty and Rutters. Same address as Tyler, 2295 Susquehanna Trail, York, PA, 17404. Again, I think in general, we're all in agreement. There were a couple specifics that I just wanted to make sure I was clear on. I'll go back to the change order. I understand the point that you made with specifications, and this is going to kind of relate into another question I have here is, so for instance, if there's no change to the drawings or specifications, but the contractor comes to us for a financial change order, we would certainly want to have some say in that as well, since we're essentially funding the project. So I'm not I guess I'm asking, is it solely the town that approves the change orders, or certainly with us having the financial interest in this, we would like to have interest?
Could you give me an example, please, of what you would anticipate? Because usually, I mean, are you talking like an extension of time, or?
For instance, they hit rock.
Okay, like an unforeseen condition?
Correct. It wouldn't necessarily change the specifications, but there could be a financial change order.
Right. So I think that, I mean, if you're, as long as you're paying for it, then that's something that I think it's a little bit hard to answer in a vacuum, but.
Well, I guess where I'm going for that is, like, say the town says, hey, $300 a cubic yard. You're the only, based on the agreement, you're the only one that has a say on whether the change order is approved or not. It takes Rutters out of that. And the contract's going to be between us and the contractor.
Right, but you're giving us the built plan at the end of the day, and it has to pass, you know, all the MDE and everybody and his brothers.
Correct. And I, like I said, I understand the exactly what you're saying about, you know, essentially you don't want the approved plans changed without the town having the authority to approve or deny that, but that wouldn't I wouldn't call that a change order.
Yeah, so I would say that if it would help, we could consider a minor modification. I mean, the one thing that I can tell you we don't want is a half-built plan.
Understood.
And we definitely, I mean, and nobody does, right?
Right.
But that's our primary concern. And so what we could probably do is try to figure out some way to say that subject to your approval to the extent it's a cost increase. Well,
I think it's just a matter of clarifying what a change order is. I understand what you're talking about. When you're talking about the system itself, that's one thing. A change order is a separate thing.
Well, yeah, but usually the changes in the specs, or if you're doing like an as good as type of substitution when materials are spec'd, I mean, that's something the town wants to have a say in.
Absolutely. I don't disagree. I'm just saying, I don't think a change order is what you're meaning here. I think
no,
you mean like a change to the plans and specifications as opposed to change order.
No,
Right.
I've done a lot of these contracts, and it is a change order, because if you start changing the materials, it's absolutely a change order. And the only way we're going to keep track of what's going in is if everybody complies with, you know, the contract terms and doesn't start swapping out a bunch of stuff. And so, and I've unfortunately done enough construction litigation about change orders to know that things can go sideways pretty quickly. And so I know that everybody's operating in good faith here, but it's absolutely a change order when you start modifying the specs.
I guess what I'm saying is somehow define change order. You could have a change order that doesn't affect the specs.
What about the timing of the construction? I think the town has a say in that.
In the completion time,
Right.
The document's silent on that.
Right, but the contracts that are going to be appended to this document are going to be incorporated in it and should have the start, the end date, you know, subject to the force majeure clause of, you know, tornadoes, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So that is incorporated, but I guess I need to know what it is you want to be able to do. And if you tell me, then I can figure out how to articulate it, and the town can, you know, say yay or nay.
I guess what I'm saying is, at this point, we have no say in the change order. So if you approve a change order for a cost,
but you're the one who has to give it to us. If you read that PWA, you're the one who's giving us the change order. So you have, it says here, a copy of such change order shall be transmitted by the developer to the town. However,
okay, so you anticipate we would negotiate with contractor and then provide that to you?
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. And we're agreeing that we won't unreasonably withhold our approval. I mean, so as long as you and the contractor hammer it out and it doesn't do, you know, any injury to what it is that the town wants to get, expects to get, and believes it's getting, then we should all be fine.
Okay, I'm fine with that then. Kyler, you good?
Well, I think this, Mr. Esselman, if I may ask,
Mr. Mayor,
I believe this contract's been approved by your attorneys,
Well, Mr. Ashelman is the attorney for Rutters.
right?
Yeah, and
So it's,
I understood that you and Clay talked about this, but maybe I am wrong.
No, we have. We just had some questions. I think more how it would work in operation,
Sure.
more than just the language. And so that clarification is helpful for Tim and myself. Just, again, it's less of a, I think, a language issue in terms of going back and forth on revisions than just understanding the intent and how it works with the township.
Sure. No, the mechanics of it are really that we would expect you and the, you know, you're the first line of defense, so to speak, with the contractor, and you'll hammer it out and give it to us, and we'll say, you know, presumably say yes, because you're going to be the one who wants it to be modified. And you've got the protection in here that we're not going to say no just arbitrarily because we had a bad day. Does that make sense?
We're good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel we're in a position to move forward. Is that correct on all parties' side?
I had one more question.
Yes, sir.
The way that it's written is M&G will provide surety.
Yep.
But it also says that the town will make the payments to the contractor.
The town will approve the payments, and so the surety is basically, it's our insurance. So you know, depending on if you do it, post an LC or you get a bond, as the project progresses, and you know, if you want to make a application for a reduction, then that can be considered by staff at the appropriate time. But no, we expect you to hire them, you pay for it, and the letter of credit is our insurance. We do not draw on that unless things go sideways.
Understood. That's my understanding, but I read it. It says the town will withdraw the gross amount of the periodic payment estimates from the escrow account, pay the contractor, and notify the developer of the transaction.
Okay, yeah, so that's, yeah, Clay wanted an escrow, I think. Hang on a minute. I'm having a heck of a time getting back to my screen.
And we're talking about item 5A.
Right.
And the way you explained it is the way I understand it to be. The surety is there for protection, but we'll have a direct relationship with the contractor. We'll pay them if for some reason things go sideways. The town is protected in being able to get this project completed.
Right.
Can I step in a minute, Leslie?
Yes.
Yeah, I read this according to Clay, that Clay's going to be holding the monies in an escrow account. And we're going to have an escrow agreement with M&G. And then I guess as money's due to the contractors, it comes out of that escrow account.
Well, but that's separate from the LC.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be a separate arrangement. That's not governed by this PWA. That's a separate escrow agreement that we'll work out, Clay and I, Steve.
Yeah, well, I mean,
okay, Tyler.
Now that you've mentioned it, though, because when Clay and I were working on this, we do have the town will withdraw the gross amount of the periodic payment estimates from the escrow account, but that's really that is something that should be modified. So when the motion comes up, to approve it, I think that my recommendation to the town would be that it allow for a modification of this sentence, but the gist of it is still the same.
So Leslie, could you specify where the sentence is that you're referencing?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. And if you look at paragraph 5A,
okay,
you go about, okay, so there's a whole bunch of stuff. The first two sentences, which 1, 2, 3, 4, the first 4 sentences relate to the letter of credit. So it'll be about midway down. It says the town will withdraw the gross amount of the periodic payment estimates from the escrow account, pay the contractor, and notify the developer of this transaction. And so the question to the town is, do you want to control the release of the escrow funds from the escrow that's being held by Mr. Marks? Or do you want to leave that to the developers, because it is both SPT for the future project and M&G Realty for the current?
I recommend leaving that to the developers. We just hold the 115%.
That we hold the letter of credit, yeah. I would, and then that the town, and then that the developer would notify us as it's being drawn down.
I'm sorry, Leslie, can you say that again?
Sure. My recommendation is that we modify this sentence to say the developers will withdraw the gross amount of the periodic payment estimates from the escrow account, pay the contractor, and notify the town of this transaction. So we would flip town and developer in this sentence.
Thank you.
Does that make it more clear?
So the question I have is, in the original intent of the language, is there any leverage lost by the town to see this completed or to be compliant with what we're seeking?
No, because you're still going to be holding the letter of credit, which is for 115% of the amount of the job.
Terrific. Okay. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to defer to you and to weigh in on this, sir. Are you comfortable with the suggested changes? Staff is online. The town attorney is. I want to make sure that you're on board as well, sir.
I am.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we'll run this by Clay too, as soon as he gets back. But I would suggest that subject to that minor modification, you know, if it were something that affected the well-being of the town or the financial position of the town, obviously I would say no.
Leslie, can I put a word in here?
Sure. Oh, excuse me, that's not my job. That would be the president.
Mr. Trout.
I'm sorry, President. Tim, sorry if I jump in here.
Yes, sir. Please do.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just saying, what you're telling me, we're going to change that to the developer withdraw the gross amount of periodic payment estimates from the escrow account, pay the contractor, and notify the town of this transaction.
That would be what my recommendation is, but unfortunately we know that Clay is not available.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I understand that.
You know, but that would be my recommendation. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just, it's making sure that we have the progress reports, that somebody's policing this, and that the guy should get paid.
Right.
And
Does M&G have any questions? Not to, they're standing there.
No, we believe that's the way that most developer agreements are structured.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, Mr. Bieber, you had 2 questions. Do you have a third?
I'm finished, thank you.
Terrific. Okay. All right. Mr. Eshelman, anything further you want to add as we started with you on this?
No, nothing further. I think that addresses everything.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So, board, we find ourselves in sort of a peculiar spot after online negotiations. We're kind of at an impasse in that the contract, it sounds as if it's going to have to be endorsed by the other client, the other attorney, rather. Ms. Powell, am I characterizing that correctly? So we're in a hold pattern now?
I just don't know why Mr. Martz wanted to do it this way, but my recommendation would be that it's kind of neither here nor there, in all honesty, in terms of how the town feels about it. Either the town is going to authorize the release of escrow funds, or the developers are going to authorize the release of the escrowed funds. We're still having 100%, 115% letter of credit.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, which is what we care about. So my recommendation would be that if Mr. Eshelman and Mr. Martz could just talk about it, if it's, they can tell us which way they want to go, but it doesn't impact the town one way or the other.
Okay, so I guess my question therefore is, we're not able to vote to direct the mayor to take action then until we have that feedback. Is that correct?
No, I would suggest to you that you could direct the mayor to execute the agreement with the sentence either as it exists now or as modified to replace
developer in town.
Right, exactly. And to flip them in that one sentence, because you could approve it either way. And, the concept remains the same. And sometimes when boards approve these things, there's like little nitpicky stuff that keeps happening. But as long as the primary points don't change, the board can still give the mayor latitude in execution of the document.
So the motion we're looking for, I understand the juxtaposition of words there, but when we're calling for the motion, are we calling this the Rutter's Public Works Agreement, authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement on behalf of the town? Is that sufficient?
Yes, subject to a minor modification in paragraph 5A.
Okay, all right.
If requested by the developers.
If requested by, wow, okay, another layer. All right, so I just want to make sure we have this properly set so we can press on.
Absolutely.
All right, so therefore, is there a brave board member willing to take on the motion, and we can modify the motion name as we go through the motion being made? so we have clarity. Commissioners?
Oh, I'm not that brave. I was just hoping that Ms. Powell could restate that. I could just say so moved.
You want me to take a run at it?
That would be great. That would work.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Ritz.
Okay. I would make a motion or suggest that a motion be made to approve the Public Works Agreement with M&G Realty, Inc. and SPT Land, LLC, that the mayor have the authority to execute the Public Works Agreement on behalf of the town, subject to the inclusion of all the exhibits referred to in the agreement. And in the event the developers request a modification to paragraph 5A with respect to the sentence, the town will withdraw the gross amount, and have that instead be the developer withdraw the gross amount and then report that back to the town. If the developers request that edit, we would approve that minor modification without the need to bring it back to the board.
Thank you. So moved.
Very good. Is there a second for Mr. Ritz's motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Thank you, Mr. Burns. The motion was made by Commissioner Ritz. It was seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion from the board related to this item?
I just have one quick question.
Mr. Ritz.
It's the project in general, not the agreement so much. Just for my clarification, anyone else's, the final plan for this pumping station, that has not been approved yet, or has it?
Yes, the planning commission has approved the entire project as a whole, which included the pump station.
And this, okay, I thought we did discuss that, yes, and then potentially vote on that. Given the situation now, we know full well that there is a development across the way from Rutter's and potentially here in the works. Because I can't remember though, the pumping station then that we actually did vote on, the planning commission, is it comparable to the pumping station related to the Emmitsburg East Industrial Park as up to standards, so to speak?
So in my opinion, this is the Cadillac model compared to the Emmitsburg East Industrial Park. This is the top of the line pump. We thank Mr. Trout and Rutters for putting in, one of the best pumps there is. So
that's good news. Good to hear that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ritz. Any further discussion? Okay, therefore we call to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone against? Okay, and Commissioner Davis, I'm afraid I didn't hear either way from you, sir.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, appreciate that. The motion carries 5-0. All in favor? Thank you. All right. Ms. Powell, Mr. Eshelman, Mr. Bieber, thank you for weighing in. Mr. Trout, thank you for being here especially.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, so
See you, Russ.
I'm sorry.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We now turn to agenda item number 4, approval of bid for 3-year fiscal year 2022 to 2024 trash collection services contract for consideration. Presentation here. And Ms. Shaw, is this you perhaps?
Yep, this is me.
Thank you. Very good.
All right, so I am presenting this item in lieu of Ms. Willett's absence tonight. The bid before you is the approval of our curbside trash collection service contract for fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2024. So it's a 3-year contract starting July 1st this year and ending June 30th, 2023. The bid was advertised on the website on March 11th. The deadline was April 8th at 2:30 p.m. And the tentative bid review approval is tonight by the Board of Commissioners, and we're hoping to make an announcement of the winning bidder this week. The RFP was advertised on the RFP tab of the website from March 11th to April 8th. It was also advertised on the MML Classifieds, the Frederick News Post on March 11th and March 12th. And then we also had staff send out an email to contractors that bid on the last contract from 2018. It was for total trash companies. And despite all our advertising, we only had one company bid on the contract. It was Republic Services, LLC. And on page 28 of the agenda packet, you can see the bid amounts listed. And we did check with our town attorney, Ms. Powell, and she did say that if we only had one responsive bid and it looks reasonable to town staff, we can accept it. So it would be town staff's recommendation to approve Republic Services LLC for a 3-year term contract. Are there any questions?
I'm looking for the overall cost. I see the breakdown, but I'm afraid I'm missing the annual, the yearly cost or the 3-year contract cost in the document.
So there is no set like monthly cost because our residential units can vary in addition to how many dumpsters we're having picked up. So you can see on page 28, they would charge us $574 per residential unit per month. Based on how many residents we have signed up, it would be $145 per dumpster pickup. We have dumpsters at our Creamery Road pump station, a couple throughout town. And then bulk trash pickup would be $110 per residential unit per occurrence.
Okay, I see. So we're trying to be flexible in relationship to household units, is that correct?
Correct.
Sorry, does that also, no, that doesn't include commercial though, that's correct also?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right. And how did this align with our last bids, just curiously?
It was, so our last contractor that was, so who currently does our trash services is Republic Services LLC. And their prior amounts compared to what they're bidding now, the curbside pickup is 20 cents more per residential unit. The dumpster pickup is $10 more per dumpster pickup. And then bulk trash pickup is now 10 cents more as well. So everything went up just a little bit.
Sure, sure. Okay, thank you. All right, that's it for my questions. Does anyone else have any questions related to this item? Okay. Therefore, is there a motion to accept the contract as presented?
I make a motion to approve the contract as presented.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second for this?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion's been made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Very good. Thank you. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you for putting this together. We now turn to agenda item number 5, approval of ordinance 21-07, town election updates for consideration.
So this is also my agenda item I'm presenting tonight.
Okay.
And the ordinance before you, 2107, was written by our town attorney. And the provisions were made based on looking at state guidelines, other municipalities, and also conferring with town staff. And I'm going to read off some of the summaries of the changes. So first, we added times of the election day, which we advertised 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., but now it's officially in the town code. We added, we moved the advertising of the election judges up from 60 days to 90 days. And that's because staff wanted to make sure we're not waiting till the last minute to get our election judges approved. We required the board to approve the election judges no later than September. So again, that goes with the advertising of the election judges and moving that up. We added a time of when election candidates must file. So before we just said they must file 30 days before the election, but now we're saying by close of business, 30 days before the election. So there's a set timeline on time on that. Candidates will now be listed in alphabetical order, which reflects state procedures. So once a candidate files on the posters and whatnot around town saying who is running, it'll be in alphabetical order. And there will also be clear guidelines on absentee ballots. And so this ordinance includes eligibility for absentee voting, that a request must be submitted to the town office 14 days before the election. We wanted to make sure no one was submitting something the day before the election and then staff was having to rush to try to get them an absentee ballot. How the ballot should be mailed to the voter, and then as well adding timing of when the ballot should be returned to the office. So town staff would like the absentee ballots returned by close of business the day before the election to make sure we're not missing anyone when the town clerk goes to the judges on election day to give them to the judges. And then we also updated the penalty section to match the rest of the town code. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Section
Yes, sir.
2.28.030, page 30, I believe it is, specifically regarding that listing of candidates in alphabetical order. Ms. Shaw, you stated that that was a state procedure. Is that a procedure or a state law?
Perhaps, I don't know if Leslie's still on. I think she got off. I was told procedure, it could be law. I just know it's like the standard procedures for what the state does.
Okay.
I can check on that though, if you'd like me to.
I know we never had anything officially. It's just always historically been done that whoever files first, that's the order. Everything gets listed on any paper that's hanging up on the website, on Channel 99, the ballots. Early bird gets the worm, so to speak. And for those of us that like to procrastinate, then we would be at the bottom. I kind of like the historical way, personally. I don't see the need to change it to alphabetical personally. So unless there's some sort of law legislation that was passed by the Maryland House of Delegates, I find it hard to believe that they would actually pass such a thing, though. Why put it in alphabetical order unless that's just a way not to discriminate anyone? Of course, it discriminates anyone whose last name begins with a Z. But I don't know. I like the old way of doing it, and I'll just leave it at that.
Last name, Mr. Golden. Last name. You're okay. Any other questions or comments?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with the name Zach.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the commissioners or questions? Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
throw the elephant out in the room. What about voter ID? Is it something we should look at, or is it something we shouldn't touch?
Voter ID.
I think I can follow that up for Commissioner Davis. I think the issue that we would have as a town is, unless it is passed on the state level, are we going to, as an individual town, be able to enforce that when at a state level it's not enforced? It's not a passed law yet. So are we going to be debunking the state law where we as a town are trying to enforce voter ID, whereas at state level is yet to be enforced?
Yeah,
The other question. Go ahead,
Davis, can you clarify what you
Mr.
mean
Davis,
by
go ahead.
voter ID?
Yeah, that you show some type of ID that you are who you are when you come to vote. Now you don't. We just walk in and you say who you are and where you live, and you get it. But you can't even get a fishing license without showing your ID, or you can't get a hunting license without showing your ID, but you can vote in the town election.
I guess a question that we might also ask is, has there been circumstances of voter fraud that we've encountered related to someone impersonating someone at the polling station?
Since I've worked here the past 5 years, we have not had any issues.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Davis, would you lean toward identification? It sounds like that's what you're considering, sir.
No, I was just throwing it out there since it is a
Okay.
topic throughout the country, and I'm in favor of it, but I'm not pushing it.
Okay, understood. Thank you, sir. All right. Any other discussion or comments? Okay, so.
Just, sorry, Commissioner Davis, just real quick, just to follow up, Commissioner Davis. I don't disagree with Commissioner Davis. I think it's a legal issue that we would face, and I think that's something Leslie would have to definitely be included on and interject. And it's unfortunately, she's no longer on the call. But, you know, I don't disagree with Commissioner Davis, but I think from a legal standpoint, I think we might be opening a can of worms at this time on the small scale. But it could then bring light to it on a more statewide scale for that to be brought ahead. But you know, unfortunately, without Ms. Powell being on the call anymore, it's tough to try to figure out where we stand as a town if we tried to enforce something like that.
Yeah, I don't want to hold the vote up on this tonight. I just threw it out there.
And this is something that we can definitely come back to with addendums. So, okay. So with that in mind, is there a motion to accept the ordinance as presented? The ordinance 21-07, town election updates as presented.
I move.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second for Commissioner Sweeney's motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, sir. The motion's been made by Commissioner Sweeney. It's been seconded by Commissioner Burns. Is there any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Any against?
I'll state nay, and just that I'm old-fashioned with the listing of candidates.
Understood. Thank you, sir. So the motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Ritz in opposition. Okay, and we now turn to agenda item number 6. Sorry, I don't have my page ready. My apologies. Here we go. Forward Ordinance 21-05, update to Title 16 subdivisions to the Planning Commission for recommendation and set public hearing and final vote for June 21st, 2021 for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is basically a continuation of the last meeting when the board voted for the sidewalk changes. So we wanted to go through the ordinance, the subdivision title, and do some updates. So I promise this presentation will be a little bit longer than my last one. So under section 161220, submission of a preliminary plat subdivision for approval. We spoke with the town attorney. We wanted to clean this up a little bit. So preliminary plats, once approved, they remain valid for 3 years. Once we're going to erase unless an extension of the approval is requested by the applicant and granted by the planning commission. The town attorney recommended that it be a clean slate every 3 years. 161230 improvement plats. We wanted to add an improvement plat expiration date. This is very common throughout the state of Maryland and the country. We wanted just to be protected for old plans sitting around, or you know, we don't want somebody to have an improvement plan sit around for 20 years and then come back in and say, well, it was approved 20 years ago, it should be good. So we are recommending a 3-year expiration. And also, in the event that any improvement plats are outstanding now, they will have a 3-year expiration from the date of the ordinance is enacted. For purposes of this section, it also has a definition of the term start of construction. Shall mean the placement of a slab or footings, piles, columns, or any work beyond the stage of excavation. Basically, what that means is if there is a plan outstanding in the town that's 20 years old, for example, and they have not started construction, they're still void. They can't come back and say, well, they can't come back in a year and say, well, you have it in here 3 years. So basically that protects the town. Final plat approval, 161240. Again, we don't want old final plats sitting around, which there are a few. Unrecorded final plats, once approved, shall remain valid for a period of 3 years if they're not recorded. If they're recorded, obviously they're valid because they're in the Frederick County records as being valid plats. Street design standards, we wanted to clean up a couple other little things. Just a grammatical error in general A. And 3, sidewalks design must meet the minimum standards that are set forth in Chapter 1208, which are incorporated herein. So that was the ordinance that you passed at our last meeting. G, alleys, and 6, sidewalks. Again, sidewalks shall meet the standards set forth in that chapter. Curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, unless they are accepted under section 1616-030W. So we'll review that here in a couple seconds. P, again, see chapter 1208. Instead of having these sidewalk information in the title 16, it's going to be in chapter 12 only. Okay, so here's the exception, what we were just talked about, exceptions. So we're going to add sidewalks, then it's curb, gutter, alternative. In the industrial park IP subdivisions, the Planning Commission may allow for open section roads provided the proposed development complies with all other requirements in subsection P of this section. So the Planning Commission will have the ultimate authority to determine if a sidewalk would be appropriate in an industrial park zone. It was already, curb and gutter was already there. Section 1616-60 easements, we are adding the closed end of all proposed cul-de-sacs must include a 20-foot by 10-foot easement to stockpile snow for winter road maintenance. It makes it easier for our road maintenance crews to just plow backwards in a cul-de-sac, and so we don't have any angry citizens in new cul-de-sacs saying, why are you plowing all the snow in my lot and not other lots? So we'll have an actual answer for those people. For 1616-100 park recreation open space requirements, as you probably remember, we just updated this number not too long ago. We actually want to remove the fee from the ordinance itself, and we want to add the fee in lieu amount shall be established from time to time by policy, resolution, or ordinance by the town. It makes it easier. Next month, we will actually have a presentation for an impact study and the fee in lieu of study. So it makes it easier for the board to change the amount instead of having to go through the public hearing process and the planning commission process and everything else. It makes it easier to change that amount. And as we updated the code for the past couple of years, we've removed all fees from the code. So it's going to be all in resolution or policy form. So it stays consistent with our code. General, we included sidewalks. This is A, general 1. Also, we were in contact with SHA, and they recommended the change here for all precast concrete storm drainage structures and what it should be. And that is my presentation. Not many changes.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for staff related to this item? Or rather, these items?
Yes, I just have one question. It's a procedural question because I can't remember. So, Zach, we're voting on this evening to pass to the Planning Commission, who then would vote on that, and then that comes back to the board, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Sure.
And the next item as well.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any other questions or further discussion from the board?
Just one real quick.
Yes, sir.
Does this, Mr. Golden, does this have any effect on the comprehensive plan going forward or anything of that nature in regards to, obviously I brought it up earlier, but in regards to the Emmitsburg bypass that was obviously discussed years ago and put in the comprehensive plan and any future development for things such as Emmit Ridge 2 or anything like that?
For the comprehensive plan, none of the changes should, if I understand your question correctly, there's no changes as a result of the comprehensive plan. There's no correlation. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to just clarify. Like, obviously, that you're talking about roads and cul-de-sacs and things of that nature, and plot plans and things like that. I didn't know if that would have any effect on anything that was put in, because I know, obviously, with places like Southgate, the plots for those properties were put in place back in 2008, I think was the last time, and so I didn't know if that would have any effect on those future developments there in Southgate or anything of that nature.
No, it wouldn't affect Southgate. It doesn't affect any developments per se, because Leslie explained it to me. Since we had the submission of the preliminary plat approval, since it's already in our code that it expires after 3 years, the Emmit Ridge 2 is technically expired, so the town is protected. However, they do have an approved improvement plat, and they do have 3 outstanding approved final plats. However, we're still protected. They are technically expired. This just cleans up the language, so there's no question in the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Any further questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, let's move to the vote. All in favor of the ordinance, all in favor of ordinance 21-05, update to Title 16 subdivisions?
Mr. President.
Yes.
Sorry
Mr.
to interrupt, but
No,
we
go ahead.
didn't get an official motion.
I'm sorry. Wow. Yes. Wait a sec. Those were questions we were doing and not comment. Thank you. My apologies. Therefore, is there a motion for agenda item number 6?
This is to send it to the planning commission. Correct?
Correct. Ordinance 21-05, update to Title 16 subdivisions to the Planning Commission for recommendation.
I move.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second for the motion?
I second that.
Thank you, Mr. Ritz.
I second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Sweeney, seconded by Commissioner Ritz. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to clarify, it also to set the public hearing and final vote for June 21st, 21.
Thank you, sir. Sorry about that. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, we now turn to agenda item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is the same exact situation, just for the Title 17 zoning. Just a few updates. This is very, very short. We are recommending a update to 2 definitions. One's hotel and one is motel. Previously, they used the word dwelling units in motel. It just didn't make any sense. So our attorney recommended changes. Basically, it states hotels mean any building 10 or more fully furnished, including linens, guest rooms, suites, or a combination thereof units, where compensation, lodging, meals, or both, excluding a fraternity or sorority house or college dormitory or tourist home. Each unit or suite shall provide its own toilet, washroom, and off-street parking facilities. Units may include kitchen facilities. That's for hotel. Motel means any building containing less than 10 fully furnished guest rooms, including linens, where for compensation, temporary lodging is provided for guests, excluding a fraternity or sorority house, school or college dormitory, or tourist house. Each unit shall provide its own toilet, washroom, and off-street parking facilities. The main reason for these changes is to protect the town in order to ensure that a multifamily dwelling would not get approved in the general commercial zoning district, or if they call it a hotel or motel now, and it slowly turns into a multifamily dwelling unit. So this clearly defines these uses. Chapter 1748, enforcement and penalties. 1748-050 This is again the cleaning up from the previous ordinance that was passed. It states 8 sidewalks unless accepted under section 1616.030W. So there wouldn't be a point in them including sidewalks if they don't have to put them on their site plan. And that's all the changes, Mr. President.
Terrific. Okay. One modification, just on page 41 of 43, I'm looking at just the term tourist there. I think that was the only spelling error, and I'm literally at the bottom of the page. So TOU.
Okay. You say toilet?
I'm sorry?
What word?
Tourist.
Oh, okay.
Tourist home.
Okay, I'll make that change. Thank you.
Okay, and everything looks pretty sharp otherwise. Is there a motion to accept forward ordinance 21-06? Update to Title 17 zoning to the Planning Commission for recommendation and set public hearing and final vote for June 21st, 2021 at this time.
I'll make a motion that we forward ordinance 21-06 to the Planning Commission for recommendation and to set a public hearing and final vote for June 21st, 2021.
Great, thank you, sir. Is there a second for Mr. Ritz's motion?
I second.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made by Commissioner Ritz. It's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion?
Just one question for Mr. Golden. I didn't get a chance to ask. Would this, obviously the way it's written, and I don't think we have any in town at this time, but I know there was discussion, would this have any effect on a single family dwelling that is being run as an Airbnb?
Airbnb is a very unique topic.
That's the only reason. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
I don't know if we
wasn't
want to
sure.
get into this whole conversation because it's
that I'm perfectly okay with that.
Sometimes municipalities don't allow Airbnbs in single family dwellings. It depends on the zoning district. So
I didn't know if that was something that
I'm sorry, say that again.
I didn't know if that would be something that would be included in the way this is written or anything of that nature. So I just wanted to double check.
No, there's we did not think about that in writing this ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, now that you brought that up, I got a question. What about an assisted living?
No, this is just for hotels and motels.
Okay, because, well, unfortunately, an assisted living place can meet all those standards of the motel.
I don't have our code in front of me right now, but I think we have an assisted living definition. I can check real quick if you'd like.
No, I'm okay. I just don't. I know we have at least one in town, and I don't have a negative impact on that.
Yeah, this is just these are for new. They're grandfathered. Whatever is existing is grandfathered as long as it's legal at the time that they started. So this would not affect assisted living facilities that I know of.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Right. Commissioner Burns, I'm coming back to you for a moment. Would you want to see some consideration at a future time related to the Airbnb question?
Right now, I don't believe so. I know there's obviously been discussions in other municipalities and the way things are done. And I believe prior to my time as a commissioner, there may or may not have been some discussion about it as well. I just wanted to double check on our part to see if that would be included in the way this is defined because of just the way it was written. If someone developed a single family home or there was a single family home that did have, multiple bathrooms per room, would that fall under that, designation? So I'm fine with it as it is right now, but I just wanted to clarify for our sake if that would be included, and I believe it will be addressed at some point in time in the future, but I think at this time we're okay.
Yeah, so technically, if I can expand, Mr. President, technically an Airbnb in our code's considered a boarding house. So it says means a dwelling in which for compensation, lodging, or meals, or both are furnished to not more than 5 guests. Boarding house shall not be deemed a home occupation. So if someone is, doing Airbnb, they legally need to contact the town and obtain a change of use permit and make sure it's compatible with their zoning district. So technically the town's covered, but I'm not positive if everyone follows the rules.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
municipalities.
No, I understand completely. Just wanted to double check to make sure with what you wrote that no one would try to find a loophole into that or anything of that nature.
Sure. Yeah, we are protected right now, I believe.
Okay. So we had the motion and it was seconded. This is our discussion. Right now we call to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And now I believe we turn to setting our agenda for the May 17th meeting, which I think will be the budget, the 2022 budget.
Sorry. Okay, so the May 17th meeting, the only item that staff has is presentation and review of the fiscal year 2022 town budget for consideration. There is no admin business or consent for the May 17th meeting.
Okay. Does anyone else have any agenda items for the meeting? I'm assuming not, and I hope not. By tradition. Okay. For administrative business or maybe consent agenda, I would like to have a trail day on the 23rd of this month. So I'd like to bring that back to the board at that time. And that could be a consent agenda item or administrative business. I don't recall where we did that last time. I'm sorry.
I think we did that as admin business.
Okay, I'm happy to see it that way. No worries. Okay, now also here we have in our notes, set agenda for next virtual meeting, June 7th. Do we have agenda items prepared for that at this time or no?
Yes.
Okay.
We do. There is 5 agenda items proposed and then some consent agenda items. The agenda items for the June 7th meeting, the first one would be review and approval of the fiscal year 2022 town budget for consideration. And that would be if it's not passed at the May 17th meeting.
Okay.
Then we have award ADA sidewalk curb ramp project contract for consideration.
Okay.
Number 3 would be approval of the Irish Town Road transfer memorandum of understanding with Frederick County and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement on behalf of the town for consideration.
Okay.
Number 4 would be approval of the Brookfield lots 1 through 19, Irish Town Road projects, right-of-way, temporary grading easement, and public works agreements, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreements on behalf of the town for consideration.
Okay. And number
We'll
5.
post this online.
Yes, that would be helpful.
And then the last agenda item, which is number 5, would be approval of bid to construct 2 small pavilions in E. Eugene Myers Community Park near the bandstand for consideration.
Okay, terrific. And you said administrative business, there's something?
No admin business, but we do have consent agenda items, and that would be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reappointments of the Citizens Advisory Committee. We have Wendy Walsh, Wayne Slaughter, Tricia Shepard, Will Shepard, and Conrad Weaver, their reappointments to the Citizens Advisory Committee.
Okay.
Oh, and the mayor has one too.
we're going to, Mr. Smith will be alternate on the proposed consent agenda on the Planning Commission.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, what was the name, please, for Planning Commission?
Yes,
First and last name.
I've got to get that. I don't have it right for you. 1 sec.
He's looking for the name right now.
Oh, very good. Okay. Thank you.
While he's trying to find that, when are we planning on going back to the first agenda item from tonight's that was postponed?
So we will have a meeting with the proposed developer in the next week or two. The June meetings, we have already told them that the June and possibly July is too full. So most likely either July or August.
Wow,
Is
that's. I'm
that
just
slows their
surprised.
development.
I'm surprised. Yeah, that's like slowing everything up. And it seemed at the last meeting, when our vote went majority negative, that there seemed to be a rush on it. You know, getting this in. Time was of the essence.
Can you turn up?
Curious to see what all transpires with all these meetings.
Sure. We spoke with the. Sorry, we spoke with the developer today, and he thought that would be fine.
That's encouraging. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any luck with the name?
Any luck with the name?
Consent?
No.
Not at this time. Okay. Procedurally, is this something that we can come back to between meetings? And that, I mean, we have a full meeting in May also coming up, so we could add this name at that time to this agenda. So we're not in crisis at this time for that information.
I think that'd be probably more appropriate right now.
Okay. Okay, so we've presented the agenda and the administrative business, we presented the agenda for the May 17th, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to accept that agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to. Go ahead, Commissioner Burns.
You've already started. You can go ahead and finish. I'll second you.
Okay, thanks. I'll make a motion to accept the June 7th town meeting agenda as presented.
Let's do the May 17th first, if we could. Just for
I'm sorry. I thought we already voted on that. Okay. I'm sorry.
We're good.
I make a motion to accept the May 17th town meeting agenda as presented.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Thank you. Motions has been made by Commissioner Ritz, seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Assuming no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Oops, aye. I was muted.
Yeah, we got you. And Mr. Davis? Okay, all in favor. So, Mr. Davis, aye, is that correct? Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Very good. Not trying to make you do your sit-ups. Sorry. Okay, next, is there a motion for accepting the agenda of the June 7th, 2021 town meeting?
I have a question first.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sweeney.
Are we going back? Is that our first meeting, full meeting back here? We decided to go back to first meeting in June, I thought.
I thought that was our goal, but right now it's listed as a virtual meeting in the packet. So I think we have to wait to hear from the county regarding that. Is that accurate? We're waiting on the county?
Yes.
Are we waiting
Mr.
for, are we
President.
waiting for the county or are we waiting
Right now, the
for?
county has the building closed, so until such time as we hear from them, we'll let you know.
Okay, so the building is officially closed in that sense to the public. All right, interesting. Okay, so Mr. Sweeney, does that answer the question for the moment?
Yes.
Okay, so moving back to a motion for the June 7th, 2021 town meeting
I
agenda.
make a motion to accept the agenda items for the June 7th, 2021 town meeting.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made by Commissioner Burns. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, the motion carries 5-0 for each. And we have an agenda for the 21st. Do we really need to set that at this time?
No, town staff would like to hold off on setting that agenda, but we did want to put it on there so the board and the public would know that we are planning to have one on June 21st.
Understood. Okay, that's appreciated. All right. With these things having been said, is there a motion to close the meeting, or do we have any further comments from staff, from the elected at this time?
My only comment is I understand, health reasons why we're not doing in-person meetings, and the building's county owned. Therefore, we can't have in-person meetings if the county says we can't. But this is a great example tonight with Channel 99 not working. Hopefully we can get our other our system up and running. I know we passed that ordinance, in the event that we can't do it, that a Zoom meeting would be necessary. I totally support that, especially in wintertime, not having staff travel in icy extreme weather conditions. But this is a great example of if we're not going to have these meetings, if we can get our system updated somehow. And the microphone issues that we have from time to time. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, with that, is there a motion to close the meeting tonight?
I make a motion to close the meeting this evening at 9:42 p.m.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second for Commissioner Burns's motion?
I second it.
Okay. Motion has been made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Ritz. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, the
Aye.
motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir, Mr. Sweeney?
there is a community dance in Community Park on this Saturday on the 8th for the Lions Club and for the fire company for a fundraiser. Anybody wants
Nice.
to come out or help support, put it on your social media and get it out. It's May 8th from 6 to 10.
And in Community Park, did I hear that correctly, Mr. Sweeney?
It's in Community Park, yes, at the bandstand.
Nice. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. With that, good evening. Thank you, everybody, for sticking through the process. Good night.